And we're live. Woo! We did it. Boom. The film is out. It's finally done. Got 29 people here so far. This is awesome. So I put a little slow timer on the chat just so that way people aren't spamming, and that way I can keep up with some of the questions. If you ask a question and I clearly just didn't see it, you can go ahead and just post it again. Just try not to spam. But yep, we're here to do a Q&A. Go through any questions you guys had, any comments or whatever, just your reactions to We're Not Safe Here. So let's check it out. Shy Jedi, did Chris write it or just direct it? I did it all pretty much. I wrote it, I directed it, I edited it. That's fun to say. Produced it, all of that stuff, and hired everyone on the production. Jackson Shriver, he did the cinematography and the color grading, and then the soundtrack was done by Keaton Applebaum. So that was the first film I've done with an original soundtrack, which totally added to the whole experience. I just realized I was looking at the wrong spot this whole time. The camera's right there, so now I'm looking at you guys. So JCox98, yeah, I think it's JCox, yeah. 100% the best film you've made by far, Chris. Tension was so difficult to get through. The couple of jump scares you did were earned for sure. Love the acting and sound design. It was so good. Thank you very much. It looked like the first jump scare was actually the one kind of got people in the chat for the most part. I don't really know if just people didn't want to type, oh, I got scared, because you're watching the film. You want to watch it, But that one was good because that one doesn't necessarily, like, I didn't want the first jump scare to be the best one, obviously. I want the last one to be the best one. And there are several jump scares hidden throughout, or not hidden, but like the film has an ebb and flow to it where it's constantly, oh, jump scare, and then it goes here. But then there's always this question of, wait, am I supposed to be like, is there another one coming soon? That's kind of the tension I wanted to keep going. Okay, let me go to more newer ones. The only question now is, where are we safe? Well, if you can see the person, then you're safe. It's just, if you hear a voice and you think you know who they are, don't trust it. To try and test them. Last jump scare definitely got me the most. JCox98, awesome, good. That was the goal. Loved it. I got shocked. 10 out of 10. Awesome. Thank you, MMA Studio. How did you come up with the idea, Shadow Superhero? Okay, so this film, the immediate inspiration is the most random thing in the entire world. I was swiping through a meme app, just doing my thing, and I found a video that was this, like, teenagers or whatever, they're in a tent, and it's the Leaves from the Vine song that Uncle Iroh sings in the Avatar Last Airbender. And that's playing, and the guy in the video, it's like a 6-second video, he gets snatched out of 10 out of nowhere, and then a guy in a big gorilla costume just comes walking in. 6 seconds, done. And I was like, what the hell was that? But there was a lot of comments saying, like, wow, that was actually kind of freaky seeing someone like get snatched out of a tent like that. And I was like, it was. And then I just kind of started formulating the idea from there. Like, all right, well, why would these characters be stuck in a tent? Why would one get snatched out? And I have other ideas, and I had always wanted to play around with something like The Thing, 1982, The Thing, John Carpenter, one of my favorite horror movies, where you don't know who to trust. And to me, it's really creepy when you hear someone's voice and it's someone you recognize, but you're not quite sure if it's actually them. And so that always distrust. And so just kind of thinking of like that tent entrance and hearing, hey, what's up, guy? Like normal voices, but it's like, is it really them? And that's where then the idea really started formulating. And I was like, yeah, there's stuff like the Wendigo and skinwalkers and all that, like creatures that can, pretend to be other people or something like that. So I kind of came up with my own version of that, La Mimika. And that is a creature that, feeds on humans and, but is able to mimic any noise it can pretty much perfectly. So that's where it's like, oh, okay. And so the idea just kind of formulated from there. That was the inspiration, was that random 6-second video. So Mivy, did you take any inspiration from other horror character designs of the monsters? It really reminded me of the Deadites from Evil Dead and the first demon from Ash vs. Evil Dead, besides The Thing. Definitely did not use those as inspirations for the most part. There was a couple pictures. I get a lot of my ideas actually from just swiping on memes and stuff. Honestly, it's just like every now and then I'll find something that I'm like, oh, that's creepy, and I'll just save it and I'll put it in a folder. And there were a couple photos that I had saved. Let me pull them up for y'all. That I said to Isis Santana, she did the makeup design. I told her, like, oh, this is sort of the look that I'm going for. Where's the picture? This one was a freaky picture. Here it is. Yeah, this picture right here, if you can see that, that's freaky. So that was part of the inspiration for the creature. And then another photo that I had saved that I thought was creepy as hell was this freaky guy right here. So those were the main inspirations that I took for La Mimica in terms of the appearance. Chronicler Productions. Have you ever thought about doing a full-length film? Of course, but everything builds up. Right now, I'm still learning how to really make full short films. There's still things I need to learn about. This was every film that I'm making right now. I'm trying to like do something new and really learn something new. This film had a lot of firsts for me so far. These last two horror films, the first films that I've done in a very long time. So many new firsts. For this film, it was first time using an original soundtrack. First time super deep diving into characters and the way the dialogue would work and how the characters work together, because that was a huge focus of this film, was making sure these three main characters are believable, they get along, they're engaging, they each have distinct personalities. And in fact, the inspiration for those characters were based on different members of Deep Sheep, my friend group. The character of Alex was inspired by Camden, because Camden, who, you know, when you see him, you're like, oh, he's like a bro, and he's got like this monotone voice, and he just seems so chill and laid back. But he is pretty scared of horror movies, especially back in the day. He would watch horror films like this. Like, he was the biggest scaredy cat ever. And I just thought that was really funny to me. Like, wow, like you wouldn't have guessed that he would be a scaredy cat. But it was this thing where, like, in horror movies, these scaredy cat character, that's all they are. They're just like this shy, nervous. And it's like, no, like I want the character to kind of be a bro, kind of be a normal guy. It's just he kind of ends up getting sucked into stories and, you know, get scared. So that was Camden. And then the character of Matt, the chill guitar player guy, was based on Daniel, because Daniel is the biggest skeptic in the world, doesn't get scared by any horror movies. He laughs at them. He's a complete opposite of Camden, basically. And so I wanted to have a character like that, who also, the key with Daniel is that he can just like logic his way through anything. He's always just not, you know, whenever there's an intense situation, he's just coming up with the logical, you know, solutions, which is like, no, we just do this, guys. We just do this. And so that was Matt. And then finally, Ian was kind of based on me, because I'm the horror filmmaker. I love telling stories. I love pulling pranks and scaring people and all that. And so that was Ian, basically. So those were the inspirations for those characters. But yeah, this film was a lot of firsts. And definitely I will do a feature film at some point. I have an idea, but I need to build up to it. All right, let me try and answer questions faster. Shadow Superhero, will there be a behind the scenes video on this film? Of course, it'll take a bit, because I got to do the interviews with the cast and crew over Zoom and get all the footage together and stuff. So it'll take a little bit till it's out, but of course there will be one. And it'll be longer than the Sweet Dreams one, because this film was longer and had a lot more going on. And that whole behind the scenes thing will show tons behind the scenes of the makeup, because the makeup for La Mimica was a huge secret, because the whole film builds up to that reveal at the end. So so much behind the scenes content, even just the fact that the guy who played the creature, Carson Overholt, like he had to be a secret this whole time. Like I didn't want anyone to know that, you know, oh, there's this scary creature in this film. This is what the makeup looks like. Had to keep it a secret. So that's going to be really fun to finally show all that off in the behind the scenes documentary. Crystal Queen 76. How long did it take creating the original soundtrack? And did you ever get scared during the filming process, or was it all work and no play? Also love that it took creativity of Deep Sheep. Yes, of course. So how long did it take the soundtrack? That's Keaton. Keaton did the soundtrack. He did it all. He is a boss. It definitely, like, that's to me one of the big standouts of this film, aside from just like the dialogue and, you know, the story and stuff. This time around is more straightforward and more explored, and I think better than Sweet Dreams. But music, I've never had an original soundtrack, so that really was the first, like, oh, this is what real filmmaking is, because it totally sells the film. It totally gives it its own personality. It just adds so much to it. I don't have an exact number of how long it took Keaton to actually make the soundtrack. He would be the one to ask, but of course he will be talking about it in the behind the scenes documentary. But it definitely took a while. He started making it weeks and weeks ago, and it was just a constant process of like, oh, can you take this instrument out? And so there were so many versions that we were working with. And fun fact, the hardest one for him was actually the ending jump scare. That's the only music that technically I did, I guess, when the Lumika pops up. I technically did that because it was just that ending jump scare took so much effort. There were so many revisions and stuff because I had to make it work as best I could. Mario Daniel Rodriguez, the part where the first scratching of the tent appears and the two characters begin to worry. How was that filmed? Like, how was the scratching sound created? That is legitimately me on the outside of the tent. We had plastic spoons, I think. I just turned them around and just scraped them. I put like a bunch of them in my hand, Freddy Krueger style. Just that's what the mic picked up. I increased it, but that's it. That is legitimately the tent scratching noise. It's not fake. And I actually forgot to answer a question from Crystal Queen 76. Did you ever get scared during the filming process, or was it all work and no play? It was pretty much all work and no play, I guess. I think every now and then, just kind of seeing Carson with the makeup on was kind of freaky. He wasn't in the makeup very long, at least full makeup, because that was literally the last thing we shot, and it was just one shot. So once we got the shot, then we were done. But he had fun, like kind of creeping up on people and scaring people and stuff. He was a great person to play that role. He had so much fun. Akimbo Assassin, what was the hardest and most fun part of making this film? I'll give a short answer so I can answer other questions, but I think the hardest part of this film was probably getting that damn location, dude. Because Southern California is very sensitive towards campfires in remote, dry areas. So it was extremely difficult for me to find a forest to film this campfire scene in, because on one hand, like, you got to get a permit and all that stuff, but then there's so many other problems you run into and so many issues and so many restrictions that, to set up a legit campfire, like rocks in a ring, real fire, no fire pit or anything. Because I at one point was like, am I gonna have to do a fire pit? Well, that makes no sense. Why have these characters hike hours in the middle of the woods, hulking, lugging this big fire pit with them? It doesn't make sense. So I was like, I need the campfire to be real, like they actually made it. And that was probably the most stressful process, just getting that damn location. That was so difficult. And then most fun part of making this film, fun part. Yeah, working with the actors and getting those characters fully fleshed out. I think that was my favorite part of this film, was really exploring that, because I've never fully deep dived into it. Because with all my previous films, mainly talking about Break-In, because at least when I talk about my short film filmography, I guess, I start with Break-In in terms of my professional career, I guess, even though that was during college. I think Break-In and Don't Look Away were the standout films that I made in college. So they're almost the bridging the gap into my professional filmmaking career, which then Panic is a part of that. But Panic I wasn't the director. And also, we didn't really deep dive with the actors that much with the characters. It was mostly all on me, because I was the main character and I knew the character and I was writing him. So this one was like, all right, I'm going to write these characters. I need the dialogue to be realistic, and just working with them. I had these Zoom calls with them where I just went through all of the different details that I could give them with the characters, and their motivation and what they're actually thinking during this moment, and the sort of reaction I want from this specific moment, and just giving them all the tools for them to then be fully comfortable and just be able to smoothly play the character. Because I think for the most part, if you see an actor that's generally considered good, or at least, just like a regular actor, and you see them in a film and you think they're bad, sometimes that's the directing, actually. Sometimes the actor just wasn't given enough, where they're, you can kind of tell you're watching them and it's like, they look like they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And that's a no-go. So that was something I made sure with the actors on this set, that like they knew what they were doing. They knew the characters. So even if they forgot a line or something happened, like they had it all in there. Okay. I take forever to answer questions. Sorry. I like talking. Marks, was every scene filmed in the woods? Was a tent scene inside somewhere? All of the tent stuff was done inside. It was done in a little film studio, because no way were you actually going to shoot that outside. It just would be a waste of time. But yeah, all of the tent stuff was shot inside. And then, of course, all the exterior were done legitimately outside. The only different things were we had to reshoot the opening shot, the guitar, because the soundtrack hadn't actually been made when we shot the film, and Keaton had the idea for the main theme, the ding, 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 ding. So he knew that. So he was the one actually playing the guitar for that shot, not Bobby Slasky, the actor who played Matt. But when it came time to syncing the footage up, once we were actually editing a month later, it wouldn't work. Just it could not line up with what he played on the day. And it was like, damn, we needed the actual music. It was like a music video. You need the music playing to then be able to auto sync it. So we then reshot that just in a park 5 minutes from my apartment late night one night. That was the last thing shot. So yeah. All right. Mr. Shocker 329 question, enjoyed the film, but how did the mimic know the personal information of the main character? Was it lurking that whole time? That's an interesting question. How long was it listening to them? Because supposedly it hears, Also, one specific detail is in the film that some people probably noticed it, but if you didn't notice it, you might want to rewatch it. There's a certain detail that Mimika brings up that immediately is like, wait, how does it know that? There's a good setup in the film that's like, oh, that's why it would know that. So you can check that out. Shadow Superhero. What was the name? Was the name Fireside Pictures based off this film? No, Fireside Pictures is just a new name that I have for my production company. Where right now it's just me, but in the future I would like to also produce other films, and especially if like Keaton ever wants to make a horror film, then it would be Fireside Presents, a Keaton Applebaum film, and so forth. And Fireside, I came up with that before I ever shot this film. Fireside, I love fire. Just fire's always been a thing for me. It's always been like a weird well, like I'm a Leo and all that shit, like not astrological, whatever. Like, oh, I was born this way, but it's like I don't know, just fire's cool to me, and I connect with it very well. And also, fireside is like, oh, by the fireside, campfire. We're telling stories. Sometimes they're ghost stories, which makes sense because I make horror films, but also sometimes you just want to sit by the fireside and enjoy a tale. And so that's what I wanted my production company to be based on. And then, of course, once I was making this film, I was like, perfect, first fireside film because campfire. So. Sabrani Osigueda. Sorry, I butchered that. Do you ever feel like doing animations like Source Filmmaker or Blender to make animations like horror animations? It'd be cool, but it's very far outside of my realm, kind of. It would take a huge learning curve for me to really be able to actually make something worthwhile. And I feel like now I'm starting to find my niche. Like I'm finding the path that life and my career is sort of taking me with making horror films. I feel like that's where I'm at. So I don't really want to distract myself deviating too far from that path. That one fisherman, in terms of characters in a short film, do you feel that less is more? It depends. In terms of detail, give every detail you possibly can to your actors, but don't overwhelm them. Like just, give them what they need, but communicate with them, really work with them. Because a lot of directors are scared of their actors because you hear about all the horror stories of divas and stuff. And it's like, oh, you got to tiptoe your way around these actors that treat themselves super seriously. It's like, no, like in general, actors want a lot to work with, and they want to be, they want to work with you. They want to flesh out this character. They want to make you happy. They want their performance to be good. And so it's a work in tandem thing. So really work with them with that. In terms of on camera and writing a character and showing on screen, a lot of times less is more, especially with exposition. I in no way wanted to have any dialogue that said, oh man, I've known him for so long, or man, remember when we were in high school, or any kind of dialogue that completely spelled out to the audience, these guys are close friends. I did not want that. Instead, just have them joking and really have great actors to pull off like, oh, I can believe that these guys have probably known each other for a long time, because your audience is usually ahead of you in any film. So don't try and spell things out for them, because once they realize that they're being, talked down to in a way like, oh, you think I'm an idiot and you have to spell this out for me, they're not as engaged anymore. So in terms of that, less is definitely more. Mike Hunt is his name. What type of horror do you prefer filming? Something like supernatural, mythology, classic, slasher, etc. Slasher would be a lot lower. I think slasher genre is completely just a joke at this point and can't be taken seriously at all. I think psychological stuff's my favorite. Stuff like Hereditary, The Thing, things like that, where it's just messing with your mind and you just don't really know what to believe anymore. That's really freaky to me. That's probably my favorite kind of horror, but I definitely want to explore all kinds of different horror. Right now, I've done Sweet Dreams and because these last two films in a way were creature films, I guess. Well, not really. I mean, they were definitely psychological horror films because they're about like the, oh God, what's going on? I don't know what to believe sort of thing. This one was big on that. This one was full on psychological. Like I wanted to test like, all right, how scary can I make a horror film where we actually don't see the creature until literally the last second? Jaws, that movie is the most famous example of, because of production issues, they couldn't show the shark very often at all. And the shark isn't really shown until the last like fourth of the movie, basically. And that's why it's so effective. So with this one, I was like, all right, what if like literally I take it to the last second and just play around with the voices? So yeah, but I definitely want to explore other kinds of horror films. In a previous live stream, I mentioned an idea that I have for a disgusting horror film, which it's one that I could do. I don't know if it'll be the next one. It might be the one after that. I'm not really sure. So we'll see. Okay. Let me try and answer questions from people who I haven't read yet. Matthew Templeton, were there alternate ideas for this film that were scrapped? Alternate ideas. I don't really know anything in terms of like, oh, we got to cut that now because of blank. I think in general, the film turned out how I wanted it. If I was making changes to the script or trimming things down, it was purely because, all right, time to do this before we even shot it. So there wasn't much in terms of sacrificing that. There were a few shots that I wanted to get that because of time constraints and production stuff, I had to cut those out. But no, nothing really in terms of alternate, whatever. It's all pretty much it. Uh, oh, okay. Mason, will you ever go back to your gaming, Cox 97 gaming? Nah. Again, I'm finding myself in a position in my life where I need to focus on what, is going to work, I think. And I think I am finding what finally works, which is the horror films. So I really want to stick to that for the most part. That's also why I'm making videos reflecting on my Nerf videos, because I know that a huge chunk of my audience still remembers me from the Nerf days. I made a TikTok where I'm uploading clips from the Nerf 4 tier list video, and I'm getting so many comments saying like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you're still uploading." And I'm like, that's crazy that like they watched me a decade ago and they just like never knew that I was still making content. So many people have no idea that the Nerf guy made Don't Look Away. And so that's where it's like, okay, try and get all this together. Bring the Nerf fans back, get new horror fans, really get it all together. That's what I'm going for right now. Buffalo, League of Legends, tips and tricks. Was the filmmaking process stressful? Yes. And upon finishing the film, did you feel that it was worth the stress? My God, it's always the interesting thing when you set out to make a film, especially after you've made a film. Immediately, your goal is to make an easier film. You want things to work smoother. You want to avoid the pitfalls that you ran into before. You want to fix mistakes that you made in the past, and you just kind of plan things out where it's like, all right, this one's gonna be fine. I ended up making a film double as hard as Sweet Dreams. This film was by far harder in every single fashion. The only thing that got me through it is the fact that it wasn't the first film that I did. Sweet Dreams was the first film I did in a very long time. And really the biggest stressor of that entire film was me. I was constantly second guessing myself and super doubtful of my abilities. And I was terrified and so anxious about the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And it worked out. It was very smooth shoot overall. Like the film was pretty damn smooth. This film, I was like, all right, I'm more confident. I got this. Let's go. And I needed that confidence. I needed that drive because this film was very difficult to make at times. And it was very stressful and challenging. But in the end, I do believe that it was worth the wait. I think also it will depend on just how the audience reacts, how many views the film gets, because at the same time, like if this film was so much work, it's clearly not a hobby. This is a professional work of art for me, basically. Like this is what I have wanted to do since I was a kid, is make short films like this one where there's no Nerf guns or anything. It's not kids. Like there's nothing that you have to, increase your suspension of disbelief where it's like, okay, I get this, that this was made by an amateur or whatever. Like, no, I want people to watch this and see a scary horror film and not think about, oh, this was really good for such a small production. Don't Look Away. I'm still surprised. A lot of people find it very impressive for the fact that it was legitimately a very tiny production. So that's why it's like, all right, well, I did it once, so I need to keep going and keep growing. So Brutal. I don't really have a question, but I just want to let you know that I'm a huge fan. I've watched so many of your Nerf videos. I love what you're doing now by making horror films. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Brutal. Sweater Guy, how'd you decide on the design of Lumika? If you missed it earlier in the live stream, I showed some inspiration photos that I had, but I kind of wanted the creature to be similar to Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I wanted it to look kind of emaciated and just like sort of humanoid, but like freaky. And the eyes are key. As soon as we added the black contact lenses to Carson's eyes, it sold the whole look. Eyes are very important. And then also removing the nose, that was and the ears, because and then it was funny because I asked Isis to remove the ears, and then I realized, wait, how does it hear then? So I don't know if you can actually notice it, but we added these like gills or like slits in his throat that he actually uses, or it uses to hear and, translate into new voices. Mario Daniel Rodriguez, what are some genres of films that you would consider exploring after horror? It kind of depends really on just where the wind blows. I mean, Panic is a comedy drama with a little bit of romance in there. And that one's always just, could get picked up at some point. And I love that. So that would be, then I'd be exploring that. But in terms of other genres, I love action. I love fight scenes. It's just in a professional setting that is extremely difficult because you need to be very careful and cautious and get real professionals to do it. You can't just have a bunch of kids waving foam swords around anymore. So action is something I can't really do in a professional setting right now. That would take a lot more, money and effort and all that. So, but yeah, really horror is what I'm sticking with right now. Let's see. All right, let me scroll up. Chronicler Productions, what kind of advice would you give to people who want to make horror movies? Well, I mean, the less is more is pretty key. I would say really make sure your characters aren't dumb. Even this film, again, my goal with this one was I want my characters to act smart or at least believable. Like Alex is the one who survives to the end, and he was the smartest one, but he was also the one who objectively was the most paranoid. And some people were saying like, Matt, you're stupid. Why are you yelling? Why are you slapping the tent and stuff? And it's like in a real setting, if you don't think there's actually a threat, you don't realize you're in a horror film, then you might kind of do that. Like, all right, is it like an animal? I'm just going to like scare it away or whatever, But yeah, you got to make your characters believable. You need them to be likable because that's my problem with slasher movies nowadays. They don't bother with characters anymore. It's all just a spoof at this point. Everyone knows what to expect. They're just waiting for people to die. And it's like, no, real horror is when you don't want it to happen. You're afraid for these characters and you're on the journey with them. That's real horror and terror and fear. So character is very important, I think, with horror. Also, you got to be careful with darkness, dude. Darkness is such a pain in the ass to deal with in terms of color grading and then posting it to YouTube, which is notorious for compressing shadows really badly. So yeah, you got to be really careful with like, all right, how dark do I want my film to be? Shoot it brighter and then darken it in post, of course. All of that. Those are quick little tips I would give. JCox98, two things. Color grading was on point. And also, if you were given practically unlimited resources, what type of movie/thing do you think you would make with it? First thing I would do, I have so many big boy ideas. Like, I love the idea of doing a TV show that's several seasons long, beginning to end. Like, I don't want to make a TV show that goes on for 10 seasons. I want to make a story that I just end up telling in the format of 3, 5 seasons, whatever. And I have a horror idea that would be really fun to do. I have a horror film idea that I wrote years ago that would be really cool. It'd be like a bigger budget thing. Making Panic the TV show, that would be a thing I would do with unlimited resources. There's so many things. I would really just have to, like, if I suddenly won the lottery, I would have to really take a step back and be like, okay, what do I want to make? And also, am I ready to make it yet? If I make this feature film now, is it actually going to be good, or should I build up? Should I make another short film that's even bigger? Just build from there. R4 Gaming, did you use any big camera rigs or no? I mean, we had a dolly that we used a few times. Main one was the Revenant shot that I always called it, was the shot of Nick playing Ian when he's telling the story and it's zooming in on him, just kind of slowly moving. That was on a dolly. So it's just slowly creeping closer and closer and closer until it's really close. I mean, the camera was really close and it was like this close. So we used a dolly for that. But we didn't have cranes or anything like that. Nothing too big. Elite Sniper IDF, do you think gore is the best way to get fear out of people? Absolutely not. That's why slashers and the Saw series are no longer good, because that's all they focus on is gore and blood and violence. And no, that is not how you scare people. To me, especially Saw 1 is the scariest Saw movie by far, in my opinion. And I remember the scene with the saw and the foot when he's, spoiler alert, a character goes to cut off his own foot. That freaked me the hell out. I was maybe 13. I had already watched a good amount of horror movies by then, so I wasn't like totally new to it. And that freaked me out. That movie really has like no blood. It doesn't really show anything. And that is really like, because fear is the fear of the unknown. Like once you've seen it, all right, now I see it, now I understand it. So that's why with this film, I was like, I need to keep that question in the audience's head of what is it? Do I think I know what it is? And that's the real fear kicking in. So it's really tricky where, you really just got to focus on the psychology of the story and the ebbing and flowing of the tension. And really focusing on like, all right, what will my audience, what will the viewers really be thinking in this moment? How do I focus on that and make it scarier? It's less about show this scary thing because, So that's my big response. And Cody Deeds donated $5 to me. Thank you very much, Cody. Hi, Chris. I've been watching since 2009. Wow. I'm about to graduate from high school. What? Okay, hang on. Let me do some math real quick. You're about to graduate high school, so you're 17. Hang on. So 2022, right? All right, minus 17. You've been watching me since you were 4 years old, dude? Oh my God. Wow. Wow. That's so crazy. See, that's oh man, my mind's blown right now. YouTube didn't even exist when I was your age. Oh my God. Wow. Holy shit. Okay. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that your stuff becomes a show. Thank you, Cody. Thank you for sticking around since 2009. That is crazy. Wow. That's awesome. Benjit Milkman. Also, I don't know. I feel like you could try remaking the Nerf gun zombie attack from like 10 to 12 years ago with like better scene directed. That would be a cool concept. It wouldn't be Nerf. Can't do Nerf anymore because no one will take it seriously. But I definitely someday would like to make a zombie horror film that's very much inspired from Nerf gun zombie attack specifically. And I would do my own version of that. Really mess with people. I could really make it scary. Another question from jcox98. Do you see yourself doing more acting in your own work, or do you prefer just being a director most of the time? Right now, in these horror films, I don't really want to be on camera because number one, it removes that, it immediately takes any viewer of my channel out of the film because, hey, look, it's Chris. Don't want to do that unless it's like a cheeky Easter egg or something. I don't want to play like an actual main character. And then also, I just kind of really want to focus on just directing. I don't really want to distract myself. And also, I just kind of have this fear where it's like, all right, if I'm writing the film, directing the film, editing the film, producing the film, and I'm also starring in the film, I feel like I'm not really growing as a filmmaker. I'm not collaborating with other artists and giving other people a chance. I feel like I'm trying to hold a monopoly on the whole thing to myself, where it's like, this is my thing. And it's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make people think in the production that I have a huge ego and that this is all about me and stuff. Like, no, it's about the film. Alan Garcia, what is your least favorite horror film? The Human Centipede Part 2. Worst film I think I've ever seen. I hated that film. That is everything that I hate. Crystal Queen 76. He is in disbelief. Would you do a short horror film with Deep Sheep members, like in all seriousness? In terms of like them working with me, I mean, Spencer has worked on both Sweet Dreams and Don't Look Away, so that's awesome. In terms of having any of them on the production, absolutely, they're all welcome to be on the production. It's just none of them are in Southern California other than Spencer, so that's why. And then having them act on camera. Probably not, because none of them are really actors. So yeah. And then again, a little bit of that suspension of disbelief thing, like, the audience knows them. Mivy, do you think in some cases blood can be more comical than scary? Absolutely. That's why the comedy horror genre exists in the first place, because sometimes gross, scary things are hilarious. So definitely. Brutal. How did you create the actual Mimika creature at the end? An entire makeup process was done by Isis Santana and Benjamin Shea. They are the makeup duo who did the makeup for Sweet Dreams and now for this film. And all of that behind the scenes stuff will be shown in the making of documentary. And also you can find them on Instagram. They're posting right now tons of behind the scenes content because I had a spoiler warning that they couldn't do it yet because I didn't want people to know that there would be a scary creature in this film. But you will learn all about it through that and through the documentary. Jacob Quarter, hey Chris, thanks for the Panic series. Daniel's character helped me feel comfortable enough to start going to therapy. Thanks to both you and Keaton for helping me. It's funny, for some reason I mixed it up and thought you were talking about Matt in this film who's based on Daniel. So then I was like, oh, cool, but it's something different. But that's awesome. Thank you very much. That was something that I found really special with Panic that I loved, which is why I definitely want to make a horror film at some point that is also a drama in a way. Because Panic resonated with viewers in a way where like it was beyond just like, oh, that was really fun and scary, or like, God, that gave me nightmares. Like that's what I'm doing with horror right now. But Panic is like, like some people say like this, like low key changed my life a bit, which is like, okay, all right, that's a lot. Thank you. That's a lot though. And it's like, okay, maybe I can do a horror film that also really resonates with viewers and really gives something like that. But that's something a little bit down the line. That one, I don't really think I could pull off a horror film, like a 5-minute horror film or whatever, with the resources that I have right now and really give people a super powerful arc like that for them to really resonate with them. That would take a lot more time and effort. So that'll be a little bit down the road. The Amazing Elk donated $4.99. He also became an executive producer on Patreon literally today, I believe. So thank you very much, Amazing Elk. Just want to say how proud I am of you. I wish you Godspeed as a director and as an artist. Thank you very much. Amazing Elk has been around for a while, played Xbox Live with him back in the day. You're an OG, dude. Thank you very much, Ethan. Tristan Wilcox, interesting last name. I might have stolen it a bit, or you probably stole it from me. I was around before you. What does a director actually do in the production of a film? So that's the funny thing, because in a way, once you get everyone together, everyone should know their jobs for the most part. And you kind of just are the mediator, just kind of going around and just making sure everyone's doing their job right. Like, it's weird. We're like, a lot of times you feel like you don't have something to do, but that's because you're not the one setting this thing up, putting this here. Like, you're the one kind of telling people to do that. And of course, I'm not a dictator. I'm also working with everyone doing blah, blah, blah. The main thing is really checking with the actors. That's something that the director is definitely directly responsible for. Because of course the director is responsible for just, talking with the producers, the cinematographer, everyone like that. But the actors is really where the director comes in. Like, that's what the director does. So the director is just the captain of the ship. You have the ship, you have the crew, everyone's together, and you're just getting everyone through the pathway. You have the plan, everyone goes to you. You have to have answers for every question imaginable. You got to keep, you're also the dictator of the tone of the shoot. If you're really stressed and really angry, that infects the rest of the shoot. You got to really be able to stay calm and keep a good, healthy, safe, professional environment, and really hold in that stress. Because especially with this one, I had to cut some shots. I had to rewrite my entire schedule both days because of just things would happen. And I'm like, okay, I got to cut this shot now or consolidate this. And it's like, you just got to do it, So, and Dylan X donated $1. Thank you very much, Dylan. If you post a question, I love We're Not Safe Here. Thank you. I love you. Okay. Some Okie dude. How did you decide if it were the monster or the guys fucking with him outside? How come it couldn't just claw into the tent? So that's the interesting thing with Lumika, is that, and the character Alex brings it up at some point, the Lumika needed to trick its prey into thinking, because same with the story that was told, which now we can assume is maybe real. That's what the creature does. It lures its victims into a false sense of security. I'm not at liberty to state why, or give away the secrets of what makes this creature necessarily tick. I really just want to talk about what's in the film. But what's in the film is that this creature, that is what it does. It responds to what is out there. It is, lanky, it's hairless, it's been around for, hundreds of years or whatever. It's starved, it eats meat, it's, mainly in the dark. Like, its whole MO is like tricking people. It lures its victims in. So that's the main reason. And then also, realistically, it wouldn't really know how to like operate it for the most part. And it's supposed to be, 8 feet tall, have claws, a little tough to kind of grab this tiny little zipper. And also the zipper was a little bit stuck, actually. So that's another thing. Kathy Cox donated $49.99, $50. Thank you, Mom. Congratulations for all you're doing and for such a tight story. The tension built in a great arc with the comedy in the beginning. Will you do a longer movie next time? I really enjoyed the longer length. Yeah, this one ended up being a lot longer of a film. In fact, fun fact, it is the longest short film I have made, excluding Panic, because Panic is funny where it's like they're episodes, but a couple episodes ended up running post 20 minutes long. So episode 10 is technically the longest live action thing I've done. Other than a film that I did when I was 10 years old, that was a feature film. That doesn't count. In a professional setting, Panic episode 10 is 27 minutes long, I believe. So that one's technically the longest thing I've done. But in terms of a singular short film, this is it. 12 minutes, 44 seconds long. It's a record. Will I do a longer movie next time? My next one won't be. I need to shorten it. I need to find out what gave me too much stress this time around, remove that, make things easier for me here, so that way I have enough room and passion, enthusiasm, and mental fortitude to deal with the new stressors that will arrive with my next film. So the next one will be shorter, but it'll be definitely different. No matter what, I'm pretty sure this is certain. My next horror film will star women. I have been doing Sausage Fest lately, and it makes sense because I'm a guy, so I know how to write guys, but I want to write a female-centric story. I've done that twice, technically, with Break In and Don't Look Away. But yeah, I want to do it again, and I really want to explore a new story with different characters. So, yeah, Mama Cox, woo! Let's see. Elite Sniper IDF, do you think you'll make a horror film that takes place in the past? Technically, the first half of Sweet Dreams took place in the mid 2000s because he was a kid. And if you see, there's like an original Xbox, which is mine, and there's the Burnout 3 game. There's like a ton of stuff in there that's like, oh, this is like, like the early to mid 2000s. That's cool. So technically, that was the first time I did a period piece, but it was very minimal. But yeah, I do have ideas. It definitely would make life easier in terms of just the way we're all connected nowadays, because everyone was saying call the police, and it's like cell phones, you can get to anything, anywhere, anytime right now. That's why like horror movies were easier when not everyone had a phone on them at all times. So, but there's a lot of effort that goes into actually selling the period piece. I do have an idea for a film that I actually was going to be the film that I was going to do before this one. That would have taken place like the late 1800s to early 1900s, full on period piece. And I really like that idea, but the location scouting ended up being a really difficult thing because of a specific thing that I need to do with the location itself. When that film comes around, I will say, this is the film, by the way, that I almost did instead of We're Not Safe Here. I don't know when I'll do that one. But yeah, that one's put on the back burner. I'm getting donations. I got to read them. This is awesome. WR Bruh, $4.99. Thank you very much. Hey, Chris, it's Gerard in the Discord, and it amazes me to see how far you've come from doing Nerf. Really excited to see what else you do in the future. Thank you very much, Gerard. Gerard is a patron. He has donated. He was a part of this production, technically. He added to the funding. The Patreon, I'm telling you, the Patreon was a huge contributing factor to getting me through this film, and it just motivated me to keep going because the amount of support that you guys showed is just amazing. Like the reason I do this, why I make films, is because I have ideas and I need to get them out there. I need people to see them, and I want people to like them. Like, it amazes me so many people make films and then they don't post them anywhere. They don't really share them. They don't show people. And it's like, for me, that's the whole reason I do it. I don't really want to make things just because I feel like it, especially when it's something like this, where there's so much time and money and energy put into it. It's like, no, like I want people to see it. I want this to be who I am and for people to recognize that. So that's where the Patreon just added so much to it, because I'm posting so many behind the scenes content on the Patreon. And I've hosted some game nights with them. I want to do more game nights and movie nights. I want to do a movie night with them. I just want to connect with them more. It's just a whole thing with connecting with you guys and just really sharing what I have. And, this whole in tandem relationship of, sharing what I have and you guys supporting it. That's really helped me a lot. T-Style 715 donated $10. Thank you very much, T-Style. Hello, Chris. I've loved this film. I loved this film. I've been around here since around 50 subs. Again, I find it hard to believe a bit. I said this in the Q&A, I think. My 9th Q&A. Everyone always says I've been around since 50 subs, and I'm like, I've easily had over 100 people tell me that they were around since those 50. So which of you are lying? But anyway, so jokes aside, super proud of how far you have come from Nerf videos to this point right now. Keep up right here. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, T-Style. I'm very proud of this film. Juice WRLD. Will there be a Panic season 2? Not in the setting that has been established. Panic is done right now. The only way that Panic will continue is if it gets picked up, basically. And if it gets picked up, it'll restart. We'll do an entire season 1 again. It'll be very much like the season that was posted to YouTube, but each episode will be 22 minutes, a half hour, 40 minutes, whatever length we end up dictating for the series. They won't be 2 minutes. And it'll be a much more fleshed out, proper professional story. And then if that does well, then there would be a real season 2. Sabrani Osigueda, can you make a horror film of a Bigfoot? I actually had an idea for a film about Bigfoot a long time ago, but I have too many ideas and that one is not fleshed out enough. So not right now. Crystal Queen 76, would you say more isolated places where technology can't be used be a contributing factor to the psychological impacts of the film? Also, please just call me Crystal. Okay, Crystal. Yes, absolutely. That's the whole reason so many horror films take place in remote areas, because if you ever go to a remote area, you suddenly realize, like, uh-oh, I'm alone. Anything could happen. I can't run to people and say, hey, save me, and then also cut off from communication, all of that. We human beings are social creatures. And when we are isolated from that, we start going crazy. And that's where paranoia and fear comes in. And it's a lot easier to reach that stage when you are isolated. So, and you also are you're not aware of your surroundings because you're in the middle of nowhere. Some Okie dude. What was the creature inspired by? Or did you already answer the question? I did. But the creature is inspired by some photos that I saw online. Also a little bit of like the Skinwalker, Wendigo, whatever vibes. But main thing was just kind of taking the inspiration from the Thing in terms of a creature that can mimic other things. In this case, it's a creature that can't mimic appearance, just voice. And that's where all the inspirations came to play. Brutal. How long did the whole filming process take? Let's see. Well, it was a 2-day shoot plus the post little shot that we had to do of the guitar in the beginning, which was done like a month later. But both shoots were 8-hour days. First night was the campfire shoot, and it rained, so that was difficult. Luckily, no shots in the film can you tell it's raining. I'm so happy about that. And then day 2 was the very next day, was Saturday and Sunday, weekends. And then Sunday was started in the afternoon, went to the evening, shooting the interior with the tent. Let's see. Shadow Superhero, who manned the camera work, and did you hire actors? Everyone was hired. Jackson Shriever has been the cinematographer for everything on my channel for a while now, since Panic Episode 6. That was the first thing he fully shot. He worked on Panic Episode 5 as a AC, and then he shot like half of Panic Episode 6. Raymond Yen shot the other half. Basically, they both kind of shared duties with being the cinematographers. But yeah, then he shot all of the Panic episodes. He shot Break-In. He shot, not Break-In. Sorry, mix that up. Sweet Dreams. He shot Sweet Dreams, and he shot this as well. So he has been my go-to cinematographer for a while now, and he did an amazing job. This was huge. And what's so great is Sweet Dreams, I didn't know this until after we shot it. Sweet Dreams was his first horror film that he shot, and it was a very difficult one because it was very dark. So this one was like, okay, I want to avoid that problem, and I kind of ended up creating the problem anyway because we're in a tent where it's dark. But this one was like, all right, I want to give more like the campfire setting is so beautiful anyway that it's just oozes with just sexiness when you're getting those shots. And I just know that, like, you know, I want to give him sexy shots to get, like, all right, you're going to love getting this shot. This will go on your reel, you know? So, and then actors, all of them hired through Backstage, actually. Crystal, was it hard to film in the tent? Yes. We actually had 3 different tents that I bought. All of them were the same kind of tent, so they were you couldn't tell whatsoever. The first tent was the 6-person tent. It was the big one, and that's one that we actually shot inside because we needed extra room for the other people to be in there with the camera and stuff. And the way the lenses work, like, it makes everything seem really cramped. So I ended up using a big tent for that one. And then we had a medium-sized tent, a 4-person tent, which was used as the one for the campfire scene when you see it in the exterior, especially that moving shot. That one there, because I wanted the audience to think that a tent was like that, when in reality, the real tent that we were shooting was way bigger. So had that one. And then finally, the ending was a 2-person tent, a very small tent, because Lumika is supposed to be big. So when he enters, it was technically a smaller tent. I'm not fully sure if that ending optical illusion, visual illusion worked necessarily. I'm not really sure if people think, you know, oh, whoa, that was a big creature. That's just sort of up to, I guess, the audience to kind of decide if they thought that. But yeah, shooting the tent was a pain in the ass, especially just like I had to, again, rewrite a lot of my shots because they were not wide enough. I could not get the shots wide enough because of the lenses we had and the size of the tent. And so, yeah, shooting in a tent was difficult. Shadow Superhero, last question. Did you film Break-In yourself, and how did you get everything to time in with that film? Break-In was shot by Alex Gilbert, who I met at Art Center. He was in the same term year as me. He shot that. That one was constant rehearsal, full on figuring out all the blocking, where the camera's going to be, where the people go. All of that was just a whole process. So really filming it was just rehearse, do a take. All right, let's do another take. Let's do another take. And I think we did 4 takes total. And the actual end film is, I believe, a combination of 3 of them. There are a couple cuts here and there. I forget where they are. But that one was pretty intense, and that was done in a week. That was a class assignment, literally like, all right, you have 1 week to make a film. That's one shot, go. And I was like, all right, came up with the idea, got everyone together, shot it, boom, bang, boom, done. So brutal. Who's the person who acted as the Mimika? It was Carson Overholt, who can now reveal himself because I had to keep him a secret the whole time. me see what other questions. I'll probably go for another like 10 minutes. I'll have this be like an hour long Q&A. Okay, I'll go back to Crystal's question. What advice would you give a stressed out director so they can change the flow of filming? If that made any sense, sorry. For stressed out director, no matter what, your film is not going to turn out exactly how you wanted it to be. It is not going to be your masterpiece. You have to accept that. And you also have to accept that problems that arise, it's think of it like a video game. In video games, when a new problem arises, a new enemy shows up, and it's like, I'm running out of health, whatever, and you just fight anyway. You have to. You can't, people, you don't play a video game and go, oh my God, another enemy, I'm quitting, done. And you quit the game or whatever. You don't really do that. Challenges in video, like that's why people play video games a lot of times is because they want to complete things or challenges, obstacles. And a lot of times I just kind of try to think of it like that, or think of it like, man, I'm literally in a TV show right now. Because if you ever watch a TV show or a movie, but especially TV shows, characters are constantly running into problems and they're constantly problem solving. That's really what filmmaking is constant problem solving, constant figuring out the best solution for this problem. And when you're actually in the shooting process, that is all you will be doing as a director. Is everything will be a new problem that you have to solve pretty quickly. And you have to do it in a way where you keep your cool because you're the director. And if you're not keeping your cool, then everyone else isn't keeping their cool. So the advice that I would give is you really just got to remove the ego. You really have to just, okay, got the problem. Let's figure it out. And also really understand that, like, in the end, everyone does want to make a good film. Like, I think there's a lot of fear, and I have this a lot where I'm like, oh God, do these people actually care? Like, and it's like, in the end, you hired them. They're there. They're on the set. They're doing their job. Like, they want to get it done. They want the film to be good. So you just have to work with everyone and really just keep in mind, like, all right, this is a learning process. Got to make this as good as I can. And, another problem. Well, it's because I'm in a movie and this is my act 2 turning point. This is my low point, but don't worry because act 3 is just around the corner and things will get better. Kitster117, been following on Insta. Did you enjoy the more professional filmmaking experience? Yes, it is very enjoyable, especially, it just feels legit. I just feel legit. Like, oh shit, I'm finally doing it, because I've done this my whole life, but it was always just with my friends. And it was always, I did Nerf videos. I did a lot of videos where it's like, okay, I can't actually show a studio this. I can't show a professional this. I can show a professional We're Not Safe Here. I can show a professional Sweet Dreams. That feels good. What editing software do you use when making films from Brutal? I use Final Cut Pro, which I get a little bit of flack for. Premiere is the one that a lot of people use, but I've been hearing a lot of bad things about Premiere lately. DaVinci is pretty awesome, has been rising to the ranks. DaVinci is kind of a combo of Premiere and Final Cut. So I do enjoy DaVinci. And then Avid has been the industry standard. I assume it still is, but I feel like that's been slowly going away. Personally, when I had to use Avid in college, I did not like it. Colby Giesel, any specific challenges in pre-production that you faced on this project? Securing funds, finding locations, gear and lighting choices, etc. Finding locations, that was a big challenge because campfires in a remote setting in Southern California, very sensitive, very difficult. So yeah, locations was a big problem with this one. Funding, it wasn't necessarily a difficulty. It was more of like, okay, because all right, so like I can't afford to make this film purely on my own. But how far can I go? Like how much am I actually willing to be able to spend until it's like, this is too much. Like I need to also live and like pay bills and all of that. And that's where it's like, I need funding for my films. I can't just throw it because this film costs 4.2K. So it's like, I don't really have that just lying around ready to spend on a whim. So it's like, okay, I need funding. And so it was never, all right, I need to reach 4.2K to make the film. It was how much funding can I get from other people? How much support can I get for this film to where I feel comfortable to actually make it and I feel like it's worthwhile. And the amount that I was able to raise through Patreon and through other people who have donated and stuff, it definitely was worth it. It definitely, I can continue, this trend, the way that I'm making this film. I'm hoping that it just keeps growing, honestly, that The Patreon keeps growing. More people check out the behind the scenes, and the Discord community that we're growing kind of grows more and more. I want to communicate with them more and host more game nights and movie nights and just make it more fun, because I haven't been doing that a whole lot. I've just been very distracted making this film. But yeah, I'm really just trying to focus on growing my social media presence, really connecting with my audience, and just really raising the support through that. So that way, then I can just make films and really just share great content with you guys. But yeah, those were very specific. Those were the big challenges, definitely. Um, Mary Matheson, you think young you would have a stroke seeing what you do now? I don't know what young me how well you know what I like to think about. I like to think about, what if I somehow got to talk to 30-year-old me or 40-year-old me, and I just see what he did. And that seems really cool to me. I hope it would blow my mind, where I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. You know? So Tyler Light, how did you record this film's audio? Moreover, what type of mics did you use the most? Booms, lavs, etc. By the way, I've been watching since 2012. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Tyler. So I hired a sound guy for this, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I am absolutely using Ethan for my future films, because he was amazing to work with. He was so easy to work with. He made the process so smooth. The audio was amazing for this film. He had lavs on all the actors, which for a majority of the film is what I ended up using, was the actual lavaliers. But he also had boom set up, and there were so many multiple audio tracks for everything. Every shot that we did had like 7 different audio tracks that I could mix with. So I was able to manipulate so many different things. We're like, crap, this person was talking over this other person, but I want to cut to them. Oh, I can just use the lav and, lower the whatever. And you can't really tell that you can hear the audio. And it just worked so well. So the sound was a huge boost, was hiring a guy to do the sound for this. He's an Art Center alum. This whole shoot was Art Center alums, basically. Yeah, Ethan was great. And that really helped a lot, because that was another focus on this film. The biggest things that I knew that needed to work with this film: the creature needed to look scary, story needed to be good, dialogue and characters, above all, needed to be engaging and fun, needed the campfire, needed good sound, and good soundtrack. That was a lot of things, but I don't know. There were still things that I had to focus on, because they weren't necessarily the things I focused on with Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams, I was focusing on smooth shots, good lighting, good look, set decorating, and creature design. And sound design was really big with that one. But we didn't film much sound because there was no dialogue. This one there's a ton of dialogue, so the sound needs to sound good, and it sounded amazing. Who came up with that dope ass guitar riff? Some okie dude, Keaton Applebaum. He wrote the entire soundtrack. That was all him. He came up with that sexy riff, that lick. I hum it in my head all the time. It's awesome. Which, by the way, because we're reaching the end of this live stream, he will be posting a We're Not Safe Here original soundtrack album on Spotify. He is currently in the process of figuring that out. I'm trying to help him with. They were trying to figure out how you actually do that in the first place, because we've never done that. But yeah, I want to have a Spotify album of the original soundtrack up, so you can listen to the soundtrack yourself and listen to the sexy riffs and just hum and be like, it'll be nice and fun. So obviously I will share that when it is up. I will also share the behind the scenes documentary when that is up. That'll be up on YouTube, of course, so you won't miss it. But yeah, and if you want updates on just whatever's going on, you can follow the Fireside Pictures Instagram at fireside.pictures. Follow that. I'm also posting on Twitter. And let me think, where else? TikTok, CACox97 _ TikTok, posting clips there as well. And then my Twitter is at CACox97 cookies, because someone took my name and I made that Twitter like 12 years ago. But yeah, you can follow all of those things for updates and stuff. I will also be making a website page for We're Not Safe Here. I unfortunately lagged on making that. So, all right, let me answer a couple more questions. Let me see if I can find someone that I haven't answered a question yet. Justin Schweitzer, who are your favorite directors, people who you admire in film? Christopher Nolan's probably my favorite director. He made 2 of my favorite films of all time, The Dark Knight and Inception. He's awesome and amazing, and is really great at it, just creating big brain ideas and messing with your head. It's awesome. Also, I really like Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino is amazing at building tension. He is fantastic at that. Just the amount of times he's able to stretch it slow, and then his payoffs are always worth it. So satisfying. And then for horror, Ari Aster is my G right now. He did Hereditary, which is my favorite horror film of all time. I am absolutely following him for horror. He's amazing. Let me see. One last question. One last good one. Okay, this won't be the last one, but I'll quickly explain. Jaden Rib, can you explain why the guy was gone for an hour? Well, it's probably dead, right? It's probably he went out there and never came back, and the creature knew to mimic his voice. So maybe whatever happened to Camden, he graduated college. He's working on film sets and stuff, so he's doing his own thing. Are you in film school or independent? Independent. Graduated in 2018. I'm fully independent. I guess this is lightning round now. I'm just lightning rounding these. J Cox 98. Last one. What's some of your favorite shows? Game of Thrones was my favorite TV show of all time until season 8 broke my heart. In terms of current Breaking Bad, of course, also is amazing. BoJack Horseman is amazing. Current TV shows right now, just gotta give a shout out to 2022 for being a banger year for Christopher Cox's favorite TV shows, because Succession season 3 came out and that was great. Ozark I'm finishing Ozark right now. I literally have 2 episodes left, and that's really cool. Barry season 3 is coming out or came out. I'm not sure. I'm very excited for that. The Boys season 3, banger as well. Better Call Saul is ending, which I'm very excited about. Like, so many of my favorite shows are just coming back and they're killing it. So it's been awesome. Okay, one last big good one. We're at an hour. One last good one. Oh, Matrix, if you could play as any fictional character in film, who would you be? If I could play a fictional character. I mean, a lot of people joke I like look like Peter Parker, like Tom Holland or whatever. Like I could pull a Spider-Man. That'd be kind of fun. I would just need to like work out and figure out how to do, moves and stuff. I'm trying to think who would I play as a fictional character. I don't know. I most of my favorite fictional characters aren't like me necessarily. Like most of my favorite characters aren't skinny nerdy guys, So I don't know. Okay, all right. I'm too excited. One more. If you have any last questions, now's the time. Filming my full-time job now. Right now it is. Right now I'm fully committed to YouTube, social media, really growing this. Bro, chill. Okay. And yeah, Sabrina, you're spamming. So stop spamming. But yes, it did suck that the panic screening got delayed because of COVID. COVID messed with a lot of people. It's all right. Favorite albums this year. I don't know if any albums have come out this year. Weezer released an EP for spring. That was really good. For Seasons, that was really good. Last year, Angels and Airwaves released Life Forms, which is my 3rd favorite album of all time now. That was so good. Okay, yeah, here we go. Mivy, sneak peek to what's next. Sure, that's a good final question. So right now, the plan is make this behind-the-scenes documentary for We're Not Safe Here, because I want to get that out there. Also, I shot a Nerf video tier list, ranking all of my other Nerf videos. Got to edit that and post that. I'm also going to do a video just fully exploring my transition from making Nerf to horror films, specifically talking about Nerf Gun Zombie Attack and Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse, and how it then led to We're Not Safe Here. I'm also considering doing a tier list of horror short films now that We're Not Safe Here is out. I can think I have like 10 that I would consider like horror short films that I've done that I would throw in there in a tier list, and that would just be a fun video to go through that. Also, I want to do a video just talking about the 10 Things trilogy, and just really deep diving into my big popular videos, because the tier list videos are more of a quick overview because there's a lot of videos to go through. So this one would be deep diving, and that's a really popular trilogy, so it makes sense. And then for the next horror film, I have ideas. I have 2 right now. I'm kind of beating back and forth. There was one that I was committed to for a bit, and now I'm kind of thinking, maybe, because I'm predicting an issue already. And I'm like, I think I'll run into a big problem if I try and do that. So I'm trying to figure it out. But I do have, it'll be one of those most likely. But right now, the easy goal is have a film released around late September, early October, because that is the best time to release a horror short film, like I did with Sweet Dreams, because October, Halloween. And, realistically, if I began, really putting everything together, let's say beginning of June, realistically, I should be able to get it done by September. especially because this film won't be 12 minutes long. It'll be a 1-day shoot, not 2-day shoot, which added a lot to the production, not only budget, but also just timing and everything. So that's what's up next. I will be making another horror short film, and I will be making a lot of videos talking about my popular videos. And also I'm slowly trying to figure out, basically I want to make an ongoing horror series where I talk about just horror as a genre and movies, horror movies, reviewing them, stuff like that. I'm really expanding the horror theme for my channel now. I'm really trying to grow that audience and really commit to it. So that is up next. Until then, be sure to check out, We're Not Safe Here poster is available on my Teespring beneath the video. You can get your own We're Not Safe Here poster, as well as a Sweet Dreams poster, Don't Look Away poster, Break-In poster, whatever you want. They're the size of the ones above me. I will also be, because I ordered one, it hasn't arrived yet. It should arrive in like a week or whatever. But I will also be hosting a special giveaway with my posters, signed posters. So look forward to that at some point. I will announce it. But yeah, snag a poster if you want it, hang it up in your room. It's sexy. I'm really proud of the poster. And if you love the film, then yes, help support the channel. And yeah, that is it for this live stream. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me and watching my film and supporting me. This was a huge endeavor, and I'm very happy that it reached this great conclusion. I'm really happy with the finishing, the ending, and I'm really glad you guys liked it. Okay, yeah, Jay Cox, yes, the contest, that will be something that I will elaborate on, the contest being about the posters. I will elaborate on it in the future. So yes, look forward to that. Thank you very much for joining me, and see you guys wherever I am next. Might be a live stream, might be another video, wherever it'll be, but be sure to check out all the stuff. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.